certainly no driver was better at it last night than, of course, Kyle Larson. Wins the All-Star race again. And I think there was a stat, DJ, during the race where Mike Joyce said something effective that North Wilkesboro marked like close to 200 tracks that Kyle Larson has raced at in his career. Obviously, a lot of those dirt. So I don't know how much that would translate, but to your point, like maybe I'm sure it helps him in some ways. And I heard you and Burton and KP talking about this earlier on Motor Mouths that like the key to Larson's success last night at Wilkesboro was he found that off turn 4 where you could get down on the flat with all 4 of his tires on the concrete and just kind of do that straight shot into 4 where he was almost like just instead of arcing it, we're used to seeing Larson go up by the wall and just rim ride. He was just like cutting almost across the grass into 4. Yeah. Can you analyze that? Your driver perspective, is that kind of what you saw with Larson?
Yeah, sure did. And there are a couple of things here that this young man is so talented. And when you go and you have events like this, in case you forget how good he is, it reminds you just how good he is. And I think he's probably the best at adapting to changing racetracks, whether that's dirt. And I know that his dirt background has helped him be able to do this because that's what you have to do on dirt. I remember my dad telling me that when he raced all the way back in the 60s, you had to be willing to adapt and change your line. And we have tracks that you have to do that in NASCAR. Matter of fact, in the Coke 600 this weekend, they're going to have to adapt to changing conditions because you start in the daylight, it's going to be a hot, slick racetrack, and then your fastest laps of the night are going to be those last 150 miles of the race when the track is cooled down the most. So a lot of changing conditions there. But what Kyle Larson did, and the other thing that was interesting, was him talking about that he spent no time in the simulator seeing what North Wilkesboro was about, even though he had never been there. He was going to run the truck race. He relies on his skills and his feel of the car and truck to get the job done. And if you go back and watch the truck race, that's something down on that concrete part of the racetrack coming off of turn 4 to be able to drive straight and in the gas more than anyone else through that entire weekend. That's where he made his time. He found that he was able to make his car do that. And others, once they saw what he was doing, they couldn't make their cars do that and do it as well. And one time in the telecast tonight, Fox did a great job of what they call their ghost car, really. And they showed Larson versus Bubba Wallace. And Bubba actually beat him for 3/4 of that racetrack. He was ahead of Kyle Larson on the particular lap that they were showing. And Larson was actually about a half car length behind him whenever they got to that portion of the track. And when Larson powered up and went to the start-finish line, then Larson was a full car length ahead. So from that point, he was a car length and a half better than the second place car, Bubba Wallace. And that's how much he was beating them every single time just in one portion of the track. So you have to admire his ability to be able to do that when Bubba Wallace ran a great race. And he beat everybody else there. But he beat a man that's just more talented than most that we've seen come through this sport.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.